Can I actually start this off? Who's the youngest journalist here?
Don't ask our ages. That's fine.
Don't need to ask ages, just who's the youngest.
I'm definitely
I'm
not.
not
22, we'll take
That'd be
you.
you, 22.
You can go first. I like to give opportunity to people.
Thank you. Look, new city, new club. What are your first impressions?
Yeah, it's good. New colours, obviously. Perth and Fremantle has been very kind to me. I've had a few free coffees already, which has been nice, and I've made some friends already. So it's been great. I think the biggest thing for me is the club's been so welcoming. We got to shout out Dale and Emma, who work here for the onboarding process for a lot of the players. Obviously, coming from Melbourne, there's a lot of detail to get figured out, but they've been so on top of it. So I just want to give them a shout out.
Third time they had a crack at you. Back in 14 when you were in America they went for you.
Yep.
And then when you were on the piss at the end of the season.
Details aren't important, but yeah.
In America they rang you again. Like what is it about the club and yourself that have always had some sort of relationship that's built to this?
Yeah, I think like historically at Fremantle they've always had someone who's quite tall. Obviously Aaron Sandiland's a legend of the club and of the game. I think one of our first was recruited from them in 2014. They were looking to essentially emulate what he was doing. And then the second time around, there's I think it was Roy Law was going to come out, so they needed another tall to come in. And then obviously, I think Liam left, so need to get that figured out. So for me, I think obviously I've known J Lo from previous in Collingwood days. I've got a lot of respect for him as a coach and as a person. So for me, it was a pretty easy decision, to be honest, at the end of the day. And just been excited to kind of get into it.
Having gone through the pros and cons of living here a couple of times, when you're working through, do you go to Collingwood the first time, do you re-sign the second time? Like when you've known a bit about the city and the club, or did that help when you're making this decision?
I'm trying to see what you're getting at. I'll give you this kind of funny story because I'm a bit of a comedian at times. My brother put it into ChatGPT the other day. What's the furthest inhabitable city from Texas? And Perth, Australia is that. So I couldn't get further from mom and dad. Love them. But I think for me, in general, I remember when they called up, they said, how are you going to handle the move? And I said, look, I'm like 9,500 miles from home. Tack on another 1,000, doesn't really matter to me. So, I've been very independent in my own life and, traveling around. I've traveled quite a bit of WA and Australia and fallen in love with the country. And, it's countryside also too. And some of the amazing communities that kind of exist out there. So for me personally, it's not too crazy of a move. I know for a lot of other people it is, but my family is still a decent amount of, kilometers, away rather than miles. Try to get on the right side.
Will they come over and visit anytime?
Yeah. Mom and dad come out for about a month a year, and then the brothers come out maybe every couple years, depending with work and stuff. So mom and dad are fortunate enough to be retired now. Dad's gonna have to get a few new things from the shop upstairs, or maybe that's a Christmas present I'll get them. But they'll come over, and family's a big thing for me. So I've always enjoyed being able to share my experience and my journey with them.
Where do you see yourself fitting in here in terms of the ruck and forward, but in terms of the ruck area?
Yeah, I know I'm a bit older than everyone else. I've gotten that feedback pretty quickly, which is great. I think it's also obviously I've got a decent amount of experience, even though I've only played 139 games. I think I've seen the very top of the top, and then also the very bottom of the bottom. So for me, it's probably a bit of perspective, I think, for some of the guys, and understanding where the team sits and the opportunity in front of them, and then how to try to make the most of that. So I'm not going to set expectations or anything like that for myself. I'll let the coaches kind of handle that. But for me, more than anything, it's just trying to fit in and be a team player.
Mason, you said your exit from Collingwood was slightly awkward. They were obviously such a huge part of your life. How do you feel about the Magpies now on the other side of the country with different colours on?
I always will have a soft spot for the fans there. Incredible fan base, amazing people that have taken me in. Obviously, coming from the US and not knowing anything about the sport when it very first happened, I was very fortunate to have some amazing people around me that kind of took me in, and the fans were a massive one of that. It was pretty incredible to see American flags and stuff like waving, in the crowd and things like that. And the USA chant was something that I kind of look back on fondly and feel as though they kind of took me in as one of their own. So I think for me it was it was a tough ending, but like anything in this life, you've got to continue to change and try to get better. So for me, I think just even obviously it's only been a week here, but the challenge of moving over here and it's a different kind of environment in a sense of a younger group and There's a lot of determination with this group, which I've really kind of been able to see quite early, which is exciting for an older guy to come back and have that group really have that hunger that they do.
It's a bit cliche to ask, do you have a point to prove against your former club, but is there some spark there? How do you think you feel coming up against them?
I'll enjoy it. That's all I'll say.
And I guess from the outside looking in, it seemed like you still had more to give at Collingwood, so people were a bit surprised when they made that decision. What were the reasons that they gave you, and how did you feel about that?
I think that stays between us, if I'm being honest with you. I think there's still probably a lot of detail I'd love to know around the whole subject, but like I said, I had an incredible time there. 11 years at any kind of football club is a long time, and I was very fortunate to be with some amazing players and staff throughout my time. But it ended quite abruptly, which I probably wasn't prepared for. But like I said, I'm all in here, and I've had an incredible first week here, and I'm incredibly grateful for J-Lo and the rest of the group for taking me in.
Now that you've got your new opportunity and a bit of time has passed, do you feel kind of like the desire to chat to someone there, just be like, hey, by the way, can you just fill me in a bit more about things, I guess, for a bit of closure?
That'll come in time, yeah.
Did you have a plan B, or did you sort of
Plan
feel
B.
like you had an opportunity that you could take, and Fremantle obviously came calling pretty soon after?
Yeah, I think it was a shock for a lot of people. Myself, my manager was pretty shocked, but like I said, I'm not going to look on the past and focus on that. I'm focused on the future with this group and be able to do something special with them.
Who are the players in this group that you really want to play alongside?
Alongside all of them, to be honest. It's a young group, and like I said, they're very hungry. You can see it at training even today. We were told not to tackle each other, and there's a few tackles. I think everyone's pretty excited to get back into it, and it's a group that I'm really looking forward to. Luke and Sean, obviously, I'll be working quite closely with, and Sam Naismith, who I've played against, who's the ruck coach now. It's footy can be a small world, and quite a bit of people that kind of come around. And Sean, I think Sean was saying the other day, he's probably hung out with my brother more than he's hung out with me, because he's been in Austin and hung out with him, and we've got mutual friends. So it's a small world, and I think there's a bit of a ruck club, you could say, around the league, where whenever you play such a similar role, and you play so one-on-one for a lot of the game, the ball might be on the other side. You kind of just say, oh, how's the family been? What have you been up to? Or congrats on the kids, or congrats on the marriage, whatever it is. And I think there's mutual respect for a lot of ruckmen around the league in that sense.
It's unusual to have three genuine, experienced ruckmen at a team who are all battling for the same position within it. How do you approach that? When you look around, we're all wanting that spot.
Yeah, well, the beauty is if you train with some of the people who are really good ruckmen in the comp, is you only kind of increase your experience and become more diversified and only make each other better, really. So from my perspective, it's trying to bring my strengths to the table and trying to help them make their strengths shine also. And I think it's only going to bring the group up to a higher standard.
So, what was the sell to get here, knowing that there are two other blokes who are already here? What was that sell in terms of the position within the group?
I think it was a pretty easy sell. Like, I've always had Fremantle in the back of my mind, I think, given the fact that I've had conversations with him previously. So, Joe Bridie was an incredible kind of person, I think, for me whenever I first came over here to kind of get settled. They came over for the draft and stuff like that. I got to sit down with him and J-Lo and get an idea of kind of what the club was about and the culture and everything else. And I think it aligns with me personally quite a bit. So I think that was something that was a bit of something that made me feel at ease whenever I kind of moved over here. And as far as the role and stuff, like I think just kind of bringing that experience. I'm only a weekend, so I'm still trying to, obviously see kind of where I fit in with the group and try to kind of help out where I can. But that will kind of transpire over the next month or so.
Yeah, we saw in that video when you first came here that you described the list as the best in the comp.
There you go. Where I was waiting for the spot. Yeah.
So what do you think the team can achieve next season?
I said this morning. There's a difference between expectation and what was the other word I was saying? Aspiration. Now we're going. Yeah, there's a difference between expectation and aspiration. I've heard the word expectation quite a bit over here, and I understand that from the west side. I've heard the West Coast media is quite bullish, as you can say. But I think this group is going to focus on the aspirations of the journey, the week by week experience of understanding that nothing is won right now, but a lot can be lost at this time of year, and we have to set high standards to be able to reach the success that we want.
So I guess further on that aspiration, you having conquered that mountain before, how do you impart that experience, and how do you kind of get everyone on board with that as well?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't just happen. A lot of people think that winning the ultimate is something that just somewhat happens, but there has to be a lot of luck, a lot of things that go your way, a lot of things that have to be in line with the group to be able to get to even that day, much less win the whole thing. So, I've been on both sides where I've lost it by a kick and I've won it by a kick. And I can tell you one's pretty depressing and one's not so much depressing. And it takes a lot of effort and everything else to get there. There's a 5-year difference between both experiences for me. And I think after the first time that happened, the motivation just goes through the roof to be able to try to win one. And you realize just how tough it actually is. And anyone that has will tell you that.
Sorry, you mentioned as well there might be some guys at the Dockers you might have to patch up with that you might have sledged in the past.
Yeah, well, Piercy I called up and he said you were actually pretty good. I haven't had too many issues with me. He's an intelligent guy though. You can't really get in Piercy's head. And there's some players that you can kind of tell like that. And not to say not everyone's intelligent, but he's been part of the AFL Players Association for a long time, so I've kind of known him through that and got to know him a little bit over the years. No, there's not too many. There was. I'm gonna figure it out, but someone did absolutely murder me on the field about 2 years ago. Knocked me out, tore my MCL, broke a rib, and broke my cheekbone. I've got to figure out who that was. I've yet to kind of look at the vision again, but.
Isn't that Rory?
No. Roy punched me in the face last year. That was cool. AFL didn't decide to fine him or anything. Yeah. No, it's okay. It's not the first time. But yeah, no, I got to go look at that vision, figure out who it was. Maybe Josh Tracy, I don't know.
Talk about the aspirational side of things. Well, this guy's trying to do something that they haven't done before, and you've achieved something that no one had done before, which was come from America, establish yourself, and then win one. Can you impart anything around just continually chasing the goal and never giving up and putting up with the criticism that you copped and all that sort of stuff to get to where you want it to be for what this group's trying to achieve similarly?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is you can't look too far forward. I mean, J-Lo talked about it in the meeting this morning. He said, you got to approach every single day to put your best out there and try to be your best to increase your knowledge, increase your effort and everything else on a daily basis, and that process leads to success if you can continually do that. So I think in footy a lot of people kind of look so far ahead, which kind of blows my mind because you can't look too far ahead in a sense. You have to understand it's a week by week basis, and you get that review and that reflection on a week by week basis. But I think if you just focus on the day to day and understand your club's culture and what you want to hold yourself to and how you want to hold yourself accountable, if it's at a high standard, then success will come your way.
What did you think of Nathan O'Driscoll almost killing himself today?
Yeah, what the hell? I mean, I'm all for obviously going hard at the pill, but that kind of scared me a little bit. Hey, geez, is he okay? I haven't actually seen him since. So, is he gone? Is he at the hospital or something? Or? Oh, he came back out. Yeah. Cool. All right. Concussion protocol 101. Yeah, sweet. That was. I mean, but this is what we're talking about, right? This group is very hungry. There might be other places that wouldn't go back with a flight, or wouldn't want to back out of that contest. And this group is wants to get better and wants to kind of put their best foot forward. So I think that's somewhat proof in the pudding. Not to say that we want to see our players get injured, but I think the effort and the intent's definitely there.